there. This is going to be the retrospective for the AVANC. We'll be expounding on some of the build processes that I omitted during the series, and we'll just be talking about some of the pros and cons of the actual guitar. So I guess we're going to start with the main question that everybody seems to be asking, which is, how does it play? How does it feel? Does the exponential scale interfere with any type of playing? And the answer is pretty simple. The exponential scale, or the curved frets, have zero impact on playability. When I first got this guitar assembled and set up, and I started to try to play it, I couldn't play it. I couldn't play it for several days. The reason was not because of the curved frets, but because of the sheer amount of strings and the lack of fretboard markers or inlays. So it's very hard to navigate this fretboard without any kind of inlays, and to essentially get your bearings as to where you are with the strings. So it was really hard to adjust to the 9 strings. And after a couple of sessions of crying and feeling a little depressed, I just kept going, kept at it, and I was able to overcome any of those obstacles and just be able to play it after about a week. So it does take a fair amount of adapting to 9 strings, especially coming from 6 strings. But once you get there, it's a piece of cake. And it is a little bit wide, so it's a 30-inch scale on the top, right? So it's quite a stretch. And it's a 24-inch scale here for the high strings. There are not a whole lot of manufacturers that make 9-string pickups. Fishman does make a 9-string pickup, but it doesn't come in white. And aesthetics were essentially the driving force of everything on this guitar. And as soon as I saw these white pickups contrasted with the black top, it was like, that's it. That's what I have to go with. There's nothing else that'll work. Black Fishmans just wouldn't fit right to me. I needed to have the contrast. Contrast is super important when you're designing anything. But the other thing was that this is a bass pickup. So this is the 909 EMG, and this is the J bass pickup. So the cool hack here is that 6-string bass pickups actually are the exact same size as the 9-string guitar pickups. And these like jazz bass pickups come in different configurations of what the coils look like, and one of the configurations is a single coil. And so I knew that having 2 pickups side by side this close wasn't going to give me very much tonal variation. In order to achieve tonal variation, I needed something drastically different, so I went with that bass single coil. So it's essentially a single coil in the neck. Clever hack, I think. The only issue was the output difference between the guitar and the bass pickups. And I think that has to do, my guess is, with headroom. So I was able to overcome that by getting one of those EMG active boost circuits. Tiny little pot that's got an active circuit on there that gives you 20 decibels of boost. So I ran that in line with the bass pickup. It's hidden in the back, and I'm able to dial in the exact amount of gain necessary to reach like that continuity or that equal output for both pickups. Problem solved. The saddles, these are Nova Guitar Parts bridges, and they're excellent. For the price, you're getting just tremendous value. There's a 2-way LED switch here. So last year for Great Guitar Build-Off, I had a 2-way LED switch, and it was red, and I never got to show it off. This one's blue. You just click it, and it switches between the bridge and the neck pickup, and it looks really sweet when it's on, so it engages when you put your jack in. As far as finish is concerned, So for the top, this is Rich Light, and Rich Light has this really natural, I want to call it like a cloud-like blotchy gradient that goes from black to gray to white. And I wanted to maintain that because it's unlike anything that's on a guitar. It's a very satiny, smooth, kind of skin-like. Like someone said on the comments that it looked like a manta ray or a shark, and it's very true. It has a very interesting texture to it. And so to maintain that, I used, this is the KC's stock Sheen conditioner. It's probably just a wax that's in a solvent. It smells like hair conditioner, which is good because if you're familiar with other wax-based products that are like solvent-based, they smell terrible. They smell like you're slowly dying. And this doesn't smell like it's giving me cancer and doesn't smell like I'm dying, which is great. So it's basically kind of like a wax, and you put it on and it really did bring out all the gradient, but it also didn't give it any kind of gloss. It's not even a semi-gloss. I wouldn't even call it a sheen. It really does keep it satiny. And then for the back, this is the walnut and claro walnut and the Wenge, and this is all Birchwood Casey's Truoil. So this stuff here, it is like a film varnish, right? It's sitting on top of the wood. It doesn't really penetrate into the wood. So it really does give it that protection that you're really looking for, and it doesn't take very many coats. So there is a sheen to it. It is protecting it, which is fantastic. And that's really what we want. We want to kind of seal the wood in with this stuff. So then after the Truoil, went with the Renaissance microcrystalline wax for the back, not the neck, just the back. And this stuff is petroleum based. This was commissioned by museums. Natural waxes are organic compounds that eventually break down. They are not sustainable in the sense that they are organic and they break down over time. This is petroleum based. It's non-organic. It does not break down over time. It'll last forever, essentially, or however long petroleum lasts. It's got solvents in there, so it smells terrible. But unlike other waxes that have solvents, this flashes off very quickly. I was surprised how just overnight it all flashed off and it doesn't smell at all. So yes, this arm contour here, right, was designed for aesthetic reasons. I wanted that scoop there. I knew in advance that this hard edge would probably hurt your forearm, and it does. After extended, playing, it does actually, eat into your forearm. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about is that I didn't design this guitar with strap buttons in mind. There are no strap buttons on this guitar. Technically, you could find a spot here in the back to put one, but it's impossible to put one here. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible, I'm saying that I wouldn't put one here. You could technically try to put one here. I wouldn't, because the wood is very thin by design, right? It's supposed to be svelte and sleek, and I don't think I'd ever want to put a screw here. You could probably put one here, but then that disturbs the curve and the line. It's just, it would make me sad to put one on there, so I'm not going to put one on there. And during the design process, when I was building these curves, these lines, I was never thinking about strap buttons when I was designing that, not once. And this design here, this curve, sits right there on my leg, look at that. And you've seen me balance this, like it's you can balance this guitar just like that if it had a solid surface. This is a yoga mat, by the way. So yeah, this will just stand on its own. And I've taken photographs for every thumbnail like this, and it just stands by itself. So it's really well balanced. And this is the way you would play if you were playing a classical guitar. And classical guitars, like high-end classical guitars, don't have strap buttons on them either. But anyway, that's one thing that most people might have a problem with. So the other thing is this aluminum nut is fabulous. I love aluminum nuts. If you haven't seen my video on my restoration of a 1965 Silvertone, go check it out. It's a great way to spend your morning. And that had an aluminum nut, and it was just amazing to see that kind of like innovation, in 1965. So I built this nut, and moving forward, I don't think I'm ever going to use bone again. Bone is now just kind of grossing me out. Using this byproduct of an animal, I don't think I'm going to use bone anymore. I'm going to be using alternative and synthetic materials or aluminum. The issue with aluminum, well, first, the pro, you can polish this to a mirror finish, and it looks just fabulous. I mean, aluminum polishes out better than anything. It's gorgeous. But on the other end of that spectrum, it scratches very easily. So when I was doing the nut slotting, I had to, loosen the string, lift the string, move it over to file the nut slots. And when I did that, just that act alone scratched the entire top of the aluminum nut, and I had to repolish. I use string ferrules, right, for the strings to go through. And what I noticed after doing this and stringing it up is that there's a 90-degree break right there. So the string goes along the neck and then just breaks 90 degrees. That can't be good, right, in the long run. I haven't broken a string yet. Have not. I mean, this is all up to tension. Nothing's wrong with this, no breaking, but still, it bothers me. Like, you can tell that if the strings get old, they might break there. So this is not a really good design. It looks fabulous, which is the whole point. But moving forward, I'll probably never do something like that again. So you pull the string through and you clamp it down with the grub screws and you just cut the excess off, right? Problem is, you end up with these little bits of string sticking out, and they're like little sharp needles that will stick to everything, grab onto everything, and make you bleed. Like, I have poked myself so hard in these little protruding spears of strings that I've bled. And so they're really dangerous. And I guess I just need better like flush cut wire cutters, because they're crazy and they're just so dangerous, like very dangerous. Richlite scrap for the control cavity cover. So it's the same Richlite from the top. I just machined it down to about 3.1 mil. Looks great. So that's all I got for this week. If you have any additional questions that I didn't address, put them in the comments. If it is a question, I'll answer it. Thanks for watching, and take it easy.